Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Speakeasy Project. I'm Jeremy. It is good to see everybody this morning. Now, we had a conversation about this just last week. This is Ricardo and Lisa in the same place at the same time. That was, that means summer may be over. It's kind of like a groundhog, right? The groundhog sees its shadow or doesn't see its shadow. It tells us about spring. Ricardo and Lisa being in the same place tells us about fall. That's pretty good. But yes, good to see everybody this morning for sure. Yeah, absolutely. This has told us everything that we possibly need to know. Pretty exciting. Oh man. Oh, Moose on the YouTube comments this morning, not texting in separately. So good to see you this morning, Moose. Moose traditionally will send me a text when it starts. But I am glad to see everybody this morning. Glad that we're getting to spend some time together. We're going to be in Colossians chapter 4 today. Yeah, no, it is 8 gazillion degrees outside. We say summer is over, but the heat says otherwise. It has been well into the hundreds the last several days here. And the next, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. I looked at the weather and I shouldn't have done it. The next 10 days in a row are all going to be 102, 103. Yeah, that's awful. And it's going to feel like, hotter than that because of the humidity. Not good. Not good. Yeah, we're going to be Colossians chapter 4 this morning. Short book, small book, end of the book, Colossians 4. But this does have some related passages that we can see in and throughout the context of Scripture. It has been a very eventful couple of weeks on this end. Part of that just kind of navigating life, right, and work and getting kids ready to go back to school and all the chaos with that, and the schedule pickups and the meet the teachers and the all of these kind of things that we traditionally are in and about this time of year, and all the things that just kind of all the changes that come with that, all the uncertainty, I think, sometimes with our kids that come with that. So it is always a little bit of a hectic and challenging time, around this time of year. I know we have a lot of educators going back into those spaces. It is a hectic and busy time for them as well. Very hectic, very busy, preparing for, new students, new adventures, maybe some new classes, that they're new preps, things like that. And so it keeps everybody on their toes. There's no doubt about that. But I've been thinking a lot about the way that we speak. I've been thinking a lot about the way that we communicate. I've been thinking a lot about good leadership and good process. Because for me, it has kind of become apparent for me that there are things that I'm still needing to be better at, and things that I need to improve my day-to-day on, if that makes sense. And I think that doesn't just come from a professional standpoint or a personal standpoint. I think it's just a human standpoint, that there are things that I'm still trying to always kind of hone and get better. And this is one of those things this morning as we look at this passage. This is one of those things that I have constantly struggled with. Because, and I'll explain this in a minute, but I think I have a problem with this, but in the opposite way. Sometimes, and this is just me being transparent, sometimes my kindness, and my empathy, turn me into a doormat And sometimes it freezes me up where I don't say the hard things. And that has been a really big moment to kind of look into that, to dig into that and figure out, how do we as people say some hard things or have hard conversations? I think it's an age-old question. We as a human, most humans do not like confrontation. And we don't like talking about hard things, and we don't like having the difficult conversations. Now, there are some people who are better at it than others. But I would say that growing up the way that I did in, evangelicalism, and especially just some of the things that I was taught, I was kind of taught to just always be wrong. And by that, I mean, always be the person to apologize, always be the person to, just lay down and take it, And I don't think that that's healthy. While I do think that there needs to be a level of ownership and accountability in situations, especially when you have a piece to hold, or if you're in a leadership position, you hold the whole of it, right? I don't think that every time you turn around, just based on someone's emotions or whims or, popping off or whatever, that you should have to hold all of the problems. And I don't think that we should be constantly just not saying hard things or not being confrontational because, we just need to be kind. Sometimes confrontation, let me tell you this morning, friends, and this is important. I want you to hear this. Sometimes confrontation is kind. Sometimes confrontation is kind. It is the best way that I can love you. And that is a new thing that I am getting into in my life and trying to figure out. We're going to have hard conversations. We're going to have to talk about challenging things. We're going to have to say difficult stuff. And with that, that means that, you know what? Occasionally, I'm going to have to tell you things that you don't want to hear. I'm bad at that. So here's the passage this morning, and I kind of want to kind of dive into this just a little bit, because I think this has a couple of different perspectives with it. It says, walk in wisdom toward outsiders, make the best use of the time. Verse 6, here's where we're really keying in. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person. I think this is really fascinating words to the church in Colossae here. I believe that there's a point to using this phrase, let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt. I think it needs a little bit of taste to it. I think it needs a little bit of edge to it. I think there are times when there needs to be a little bit more. It doesn't need to be bland. It doesn't need to be pat. It doesn't need to be boring. It doesn't need to be unimportant. And I think that what happens is this is kind of a drawback to when Jesus is saying in Mark chapter 9, he says, salt is good, but if the salt is lost its saltiness, how do you make it salty again? Have salt in yourselves and be at peace with one another. It also goes back to when Jesus is talking about, you're the salt of the earth, right? You're the thing that preserves. You're the thing that protects. And I think that that's really important to remember that line from the words of Jesus to this writing, because what we're understanding is that Paul, while writing this, would be very familiar with some of the teachings and the words of Jesus. And he would understand that Jesus would have said things like this, where he said, be the salt of the earth. In other words, right, you are the salt of the earth. In other words, you should preserve goodness. You should preserve hope. You should preserve faith and all of those things. You should be the salt of the earth, because in cultural context, salt being a preservative, right? Not a flavor piece, but a thing to, no refrigeration, right? To keep your meat, to keep your things lasting longer, and to have a life and a journey, right? So he is saying, you are the salt of the earth. You preserve the kingdom of heaven on earth. You preserve the things that are good on earth. You are that preservative. So be that thing. And so what it means to say that your speech should have salt is that it should have some kind of level of perseverance to it. It should have some kind of level of lasting impact to it. Yeah, it is the loving goodness and care that the Lord shares with us. It is. I don't know how I feel about this one. But yeah, in the past, I've been and done the same. Always apologize first. Just let it go. And I became the doormat for people to walk all over. I lost myself in who I am now. Who I am now is still healing from all that. Yes. Same. But I think that's why this passage really matters. And I think it's why it's really important to remember the way that Jesus communicated. Jesus never communicated outside of the bounds of grace. Jesus never communicated outside of the bounds of goodness and hope and kindness. But Jesus said hard things. And the reason that Jesus said hard things, especially for those in leadership or the religious elite, the government, those kinds of things. The reason that Jesus said hard things is because those hard things come out of love and because they challenge people who are in those places of authority. Jesus said hard things to other people too, but it was done in a different way. And that's the reason that you have to remember keeping your speech in grace and keeping it in saltiness, so to speak, right, is going to mean that you are aware and understanding that your conversations with people in different walks of life in different areas are going to have to be different. It doesn't mean that we don't say the hard things. It doesn't mean that we pull the punches. It just means that sometimes I'm going to have a conversation with someone who is in a really hard place. I'm going to have a conversation with a lot more grace. And I'm going to have to season it just a little differently than I am this conversation with somebody with a lot of pride and ego and power. This is going to be calling truth to power. This is going to be giving grace and patience and soft correction. But that is understanding who you're speaking with, and it's really kind of saying the same thing in both places. Right? Jesus' conversation with Nicodemus, who came to him in the middle of the night, still very pointed, still very direct, still full of truth, but much different than when the Pharisees, Sadducees, religious elite of the day would confront Jesus and try to catch him off guard on purpose. See, because the difference in those things is that Nicodemus comes in good faith and asks good faith questions. These people come to try to play gotcha. Jesus has different responses while still sharing the same truth. We need to understand that truth is truth. That's number one. Number two, truth still needs to be conveyed in each conversation. Just because somebody's in a really difficult season of their life doesn't mean that they don't need truth, that they don't deserve truth. And over here, just because somebody has a lot of ego and loud and brash tones doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be met with truth too. and that they don't deserve truth in their life. But the way that those things are given are so much different. And that is why our speech should be gracious, but it should be seasoned with salt. In other words, the seasoning should match the need. This also draws a lot of reminders to that passage in 1 Peter chapter 3. But in your hearts, honor Christ, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you. Do it with gentleness and respect. See, I think that too often we look at words like gentleness, respect, kindness, grace. We see those words as soft. We see those words as things that mean doormat, right? It harkens back to this mentality, right? Gentleness, kindness, grace, humility. We immediately draw conclusions, meekness. We draw conclusions to say that means be quiet, be soft, be silent, be the doormat, take all the responsibility, take all the blame, whether it's your fault or not. Just show people grace. Show people grace. That doesn't mean be soft. That doesn't mean don't say the hard things. That doesn't mean don't be confrontational, right? It just means say the hard things, be confrontational with grace. Say the hard things, be confrontational with humility. Say the hard things, be confrontational with love and patience. And understand the conversation and who you're speaking to. It is public speaking 101. Know your audience. It is marketing 101. Who are we targeting, right? The very first question every single time is, who is the audience? Who are we targeting? It informs the way you speak, but it doesn't change the thing you say. Let me say that again. It informs the way you speak, but it doesn't change the thing you say. I'm still going to need to stand up for goodness and holiness and righteousness and kindness. I'm still going to need to stand up for equality and justice and hope. But I'm going to have to convey those things differently in different spaces. And that's why it is so important for us to understand grace doesn't mean soft. Grace doesn't mean quiet. Grace doesn't mean letting people slide by. Grace just simply means I am understanding of your situation. Therefore, I'm going to convey the truth to you based on your situation. But it changes what I say, it changes how I say it, not what I say. Because the truth is still the truth. And the reality of it is still the reality of it. Hope is still hope. And this matters. So bringing the kingdom of heaven to earth, the truth is still what it is. Jesus is good. Jesus is inclusive. His love is good enough for you, and it matters for you, and you are worthy of the love of Jesus. Those things are still the truth. But if you are somebody who is in a season of brokenness and hurt and harm, and you think you are not ever going to be loved again, the way I communicate that to you is a lot different than the way I come over to this person who thinks that they have it all figured out, that they have the truth of the gospel figured out, yet they are being bigoted and harmful and hateful. The way I'm conveying it to them and the way I'm conveying it to the guy that's hurt and broken and thinks he can never climb out of the hole is two completely different conversations, but the truth remains the same. So in our situations, in finding some of those moments that need us to be confrontational, Understand that the truth is still in the middle. It's the gooey center, right? It is the Tootsie Roll in the middle of the Tootsie Pop. It is the thing. But weigh out the way the truth needs to be said. You may have conversations at work that are going to require you to say hard things. Know your audience. Know the situation. Convey it accordingly. But the truth is still the truth. Maybe you have colleagues that are not meeting their end of the bargain on a project. Maybe you've got colleagues or, people that report to you that are not meeting their end of the bargain on what they said they would do day to day. Maybe you've got people above you who are not meeting their end day to day. Those are three very different conversations, right? So for me, as somebody who oversights people, my conversation with somebody on my team that I oversee is going to be very gracious to begin with. Hey, I know there may be a lot going on and you may feel overwhelmed. Just ask for help if you can't meet the situation here, right? Or where are we at on this? Okay, that's a different conversation. If somebody equal to me, hey, we have got to get this done. We have a goal here, right? Where are we lacking, or what are the things that we're not meeting? Somebody above your head, sometimes it's, hey, have you thought about how this is impacting, right? Have you thought about how the consistency matters and what this looks like? Managing up and managing and collaborating, three very different scenarios, all in the same space. The truth is still the truth. I still got to get to this end goal over here. I still have to reach the goal, but I understand that the conversations have to look different. And that's really the point in this. And for us, it's more spiritual. It's more important than a project at work. It is the truth of Jesus. It is the truth and the hope and the love of Jesus. So it is the truth of truths, right? It is the truth of truths. But the way we convey it is going to be very different, and it matters constantly. Important to make sure your responses are measured. And I don't even know if I would call it, speak with my partner far different than I do my workmates. Yeah, that's for sure. However, I don't even know if I would call it curt and harsh. I just call it direct, right? Sometimes soft, rounded edges, sometimes pointed, very direct, right? The second one is the thing that people like you and I, or coming from a background like you and I, struggle with the most. That's the part that we are not good at, is sharp and harsh. unless now this is a whole nother level, and maybe really more than I plan on bargaining for today, but there's a whole nother level of when we struggle with externally saying hard things, we are really bad about letting those things come out on the people closest to us. And it's not even their fault. They're not the ones who deserve the hard language. They're not the ones who deserve the harsh reaction. They just catch it because we don't know how to adequately express it to the right place. So I would have to say that is something I have always struggled with, and am proactively always trying to change. Okay, I am I'm gonna say the hard things to the people who need to hear it, not internalize it and then put it on somebody else. No, I've just lived the same exact thing, because when you because when you say, you know, I've always struggled with being a doormat, I've always struggled, this is the exact same for me. So I 1000% know it. And I know what that also leads to with people that you trust, right? They think you, so, and this would be a challenge for, if you are somebody who feels like that, you know, your spouse or partner or somebody is lashing out to you on you unnecessarily or undeservedly, and you feel like it's because they are pressing emotions and harboring things. What I would say is first off, you are right. It is because they are suppressing those things, as a recovering suppressor, right? And number two, know that that means they trust you more than anyone. As hard as that is to hear, know that that actually comes out of a place of trust and love. That doesn't make it right, and I'm not making an excuse. But what I am saying is just know that that comes out of a place of implicit trust and love. Because we only really let those things out with people that we really trust. Again, not an excuse. Should never happen. Should not happen. But that is why. Okay. Number one, what's up, Brandon? Good to see you, buddy. I love this guy. Second, what shoes are those? The image is a little bit blurry on my end, so I don't know what pair that is. Listen, fellow sneakerheads unite. But yeah, I have. I've not been a fly on your walls. I've just been a fly on my own. You know what I'm saying? Some of those walls are very similar. Yeah, it's totally about being safe. It's not great. And Lisa, I don't know if anybody pigeonholes into like one or the other of these, but like I don't know which one you kind of experience more, whether you're the person of trust that's like catching the shrapnel, or you're the person that suppresses and then explodes. I think we're all a little bit of both at times, right? But yes, from either direction, it is not great. Yeah, yes, yes, it does. Yes, it does. So it has just taken me a long time to learn how to breathe. Just stop, just breathe. You know, maybe you need to meditate. Maybe you just need to pause. Some deep breaths, right? Yeah, they look like some AF1s, but I just couldn't tell which pair. So I love it. Fair. This is a good one. Yeah, neither one good, right? Like, yeah, it's like the build up. Yeah, for sure. I get that. 1000% understand that. So, yeah, this is a good conversation this morning. So I appreciate everybody's time this morning. I just think that we need to understand. I think we just need to understand that grace doesn't need to be soft. Kindness doesn't mean that you're soft. I can love you and still yell at you not to walk in front of the semi while you're crossing the street, right? I can love you and still tell you you're being stupid with your choices. We got to know that. Mm-hmm. Well, and the problem is with keeping your mouth shut all the time, eventually it just boils over and then all of it comes out. That's my problem. That was the thing I struggled with the most, was I would just press, not say anything, just grow more and more angry and resentful, and then eventually. And it was detrimental, not just like to the people around me, but to me, because then I would get into some really, really dark places. I love that, bub. I love that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for safety issues or for for moments of danger, right? Yes, 1,000%. You know, but sometimes that is so good to just scream into the abyss. It is so healthy. And then you feel better and you're like, you know what? I'm going to breathe and we're going to approach this tomorrow. It's going to be okay. That's good. All right, y'all. This has been a good conversation. I'm glad we got to have it. Go be full of truth today. Go be full of honesty. Don't be afraid to say the hard things, but say them well. Give the truth, but give it in a way of understanding. You know, understand who you are speaking to and their situation. Also, I don't know if you have Trader Joe's where you're at. Okay. As we switch gears real quickly on a more personal level, or maybe less personal, I guess. I don't know. I'm just talking about all the things I struggle with in my in my reality. There we go. So I usually get these. Okay, I love pistachios. These are dark chocolate covered pistachios. Delicious. Okay, absolutely delicious. Get these at Trader Joe's. A place with tons of good, like organic, options and a lot healthier. Anyway, really good. Yesterday, I saw it in bark. So I thought, awesome. Actually, let me correct that. My wife and oldest daughter saw it in a bark form instead of a individually covered form, right? So a little bit more chocolate, right? If it's in bark form, right? This is very nut centric, and bark form seems chocolate centric. So I was like, you know what? I want to try that. That sounds fun. They were like, hey, this looks really, Dad, you would like this? And I was like, I absolutely would. Grab that. Give me one of those. No one in my family can read, apparently, including myself. With dried jalapenos. It is not that spicy, but I'm going to tell you, look, it's not that spicy. It's actually delicious. Let's be fair. It is 1,000% delicious. It is really good. It's really good. But I didn't think anything about it, and I'm pretty sure I was like looking at this side, just rip the bag open, right? Reached in there, break off a little piece, and that like dried jalapeno doesn't hit till like the back end. So it was like I was just eating it away. Like I was like, oh man, that is really good. It's more chocolatey and pistachios. I love it. And then all of a sudden I was like, what is happening? I grabbed the bag. I was like, oh yeah, makes sense. So then I went in there and I took everybody a little piece and I said, I want everybody to try this chocolate. And they tried it and they were like, what is happening? So to be fair, the reason that I get this is because number one, it's not like overly sweet, because dark chocolate's kind of a little bit more tame anyway, and more cacao for it. Right? But like the entire bag, there's like 6 servings, 160 calories a piece. So like, if you just were to have a bad day and put a dent in this, like not great, but like also, you didn't just eat 2,000 calories of ice cream. You know what I'm saying? So like I can if I make a poor choice with this, it's a better poor choice. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it is delicious, but I guess none of us can read or look at pictures. So it wasn't good. But yeah, dried jalapenos in there. Absolutely delicious, by the way. So if you have a Trader Joe's or whatever, I recommend. But just know that it does have jalapenos in it. For those of you keeping score at home. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, going to like nuts and grains. Game changer. Absolute game changer. Granola, right? Like granola bars, things like that. Pretty good move. Your sister would have absolutely done that to you. But she does it out of love. I know your sister, and she is a good person. She would do it just to share that experience with you, Brandon. She's a teacher now, too, isn't she? Those are some great humans. The Freeman family, a pile of great humans. For sure. All right. That's all I got for you today. Say the hard things. Say them with grace. Grace is not soft. It's just truth conveyed the right way. Oh yeah, the wasabi and soy sauce ones are killer. Yeah, don't forget midweek coming up. Tuesday, Wednesday, be a part of one, be a part of both. 6 Central, 7 Eastern. Say the hard things with grace. Know who you're saying them to. Read the label. That's my encouragement today. So, all right, you guys have a great Sunday. I love you. Love God. Love people. Love yourself passionately with no strings attached. I'll see you next week.